should read subject number 5 is, we're never going to get rid of these colonizer religions, are we? This came with a link to X, formerly known as Twitter. This is a tweet from Sir Favor. It says, a woman called Helen Pabio, quote, if a child under the age of 2 screams in the night, cries, and is always feverish with deteriorating health, he or she is a servant of Satan, end of quote. This, among others, she had claimed on her witchcraft hunting that had cost lives, most especially children. So this is a 2.5-minute video, it seems. We'll watch it, and then we'll discuss it.
When you are talking about witches and witches living their body, I can show you and teach you many places in the Bible.
This is Helen Ukpabio. Calling herself Lady Apostle, she heads the Liberty Foundation Gospel Ministries in Nigeria, and she believes that she can save her country from witchcraft. But instead of denouncing other women as witches, she preaches that the devil now targets children as recruits. Unfortunately, she's not just some random lunatic with a twisted imagination. Helen and her church are largely responsible for the recent wave of witch hysteria that has broken out all across West Africa, which has resulted in thousands of children to be starved, beaten, brutalized, tortured, abandoned, and even murdered by followers of her insane beliefs that witch children ruin the lives of not just their families, but of whole villages. She produces and distributes ridiculous movies that have played a very significant role in whipping up this hysteria. The most well-known is End of the Wicked, which specifically and graphically details how witch children steal the souls of other children and initiate them into witchcraft. These productions, along with the dumbing down of the destitute and uneducated masses who flock her church of over 150 branches, have made her one of the wealthiest preachers in the Niger Delta. And now she's coming to the United States. In May 2012, the self-proclaimed Lady Apostle will be hosting a series of sermons called 12 Days of Battling in the Spirit of Freedom at the Liberty Gospel Church in Houston. The original date was for mid-March, but according to Pastor Godwin Umatong, who heads her Houston branch, the event has been moved back to make time for extra preparations. Curiously, I was unable to find an address or contact information anywhere on the internet that states where exactly the Liberty Gospel Church is located, which leads me to suspect that it's not an established church at all. Perhaps it will be some clandestine meeting that only a few will be allowed to attend. Who knows? However, Helen Ukpabio has visited Houston before, back in May 2010, during which she preached at the Glorious Praise Ministries, which is headed by Nigerian pastor Jonathan David. Maybe this is where the Liberty Gospel Church will be set up. To get a clearer view of what we're dealing with, one need only to read a few passages from her book, Unveiling the Mysteries of Witchcraft, which includes her explanations of how to acquire and detect witchcraft in children, including infants, stating, quote, if a child under the age of 2 screams in the night, cries, and is always feverish with deteriorating health, he or she is a servant of Satan. And according to her films of stellar production value, other telltale signs of witchcraft include having little interest in school, being temperamental, and talking back to one's parents.
Yeah, that's an interesting story there. And it's out of Nigeria also, it seems. In the chat, TriggerHappy262 Plus says, witchcraft is bad, but African spirituality is not witchcraft. Witchcraft is like Isfet, power with bad intention. But our culture is not a bad intention, which is a foreign characterization. You know, Trigger, that reminds me of something. One of the reasons why Obia gets a bad name is because, and I wish Zuli, who was in the chat earlier, was up here, because me and Zuli witnessed this ourselves one time. Like Obia gets a bad rap because when you hear about it or when you see someone practicing it, it's for something that's bad intention. And I once heard, ironically, sadly, I heard a Haitian woman, it was Azuli and I think, were there, And I heard a Haitian woman talk about, yeah, well, if you're poor, then you're gonna have bad intentions. And I just think that's like a Europeanization of it. I don't think that we really had those kinds of bad intentions in our spirituality. I mean, for example, like Obadi Campbell would tell you, we didn't have a concept of Satan and people being evil from birth and all this old shit. That's a European thing. And I think that's what's happening in this here. It's just a continuation of the European cancer that our people suffer from. Witchcraft is a European thing. That's not our shit. When I see black folks talking about the witches and all this and covens and all, I'm like, God damn. In 2024, y'all still talking this foolishness? But that's why we got to get back to being who we were. And that's why, again, repatriation is not a bad thing. But it needs to be an organized thing. Because imagine you bring some folks from out here going back to Africa practicing spirituality with bad intentions. Like that's not our shit, and we need to keep that. We need to keep that from around us. Okay, so Anthony is back. Let me mix it up for this one. Let me start with Buana on this one. Buana, what's it?
Koki, she's a devil. Make no mistake about it. She's a black devil, and she hides religion, and she uses religion to practice a devilishment. Make no mistake about that. But I want us to be careful sometimes, because when we tend to demonize all Africans don't behave in an above board way, and that's continental. That's in Africa or other parts of the world. They've been conditioned to do a lot of stupidities. Make no mistake about it. Make no mistake about it. But if you could castigate this black woman, I am reminded by Jim Jones. Jim Jones killed people he murdered when he take them down to Guyana. Many children, many kids, and innocent people. So this woman is bad. Make no mistake about it. But Jim Jones them do the same kind of things. The Catholic Church in America, how much cases, how much lawsuits they have for messing with little children. So I mean, I don't want to carry the argument. Like I say, make no mistakes. Think about it. Black people do need to sit down and reevaluate some of the religions that we have inherited from our former colonizers. We need to sit down and have a big meeting and get past the emotionalism and actively start thinking about what it is that we've been practicing. Because I feel like a lot of the times the religion that we've been practicing, almost like we've been practicing it as little children. We've been taught spirituality like children in the most base way possible. And I think that we need to get away from that. We need to have a big discussion and move the emotions out of it and find out what it is that we are actively practicing on an everyday. Now, you're going to always have ignorant people doing ignorant things. That's just a universal thing. But the religionists and the pragmatists and the people who ain't into religion at all need to sit at the table and have a reasonable, rational discussion in terms of spirituality and the religions that we are into. I know it'll never happen, but it's just good to say that and express that, because I feel like how we've been taught spirituality is almost on the level of children, and this is just, it's gone too far. It's just gone. This lady needs to be arrested. She needs to, not only in America, she comes to America, she needs to be arrested in Nigeria for the nonsense that she's going on about. But will it happen? The fact that people benefit from it monetarily, because that's when people become objective. They become reasonable when they talk about the money, But when it comes to the actual the behavior itself and the actions that some of us get carried away by in practicing religion, everybody shut them out, knowing full well it's nonsense. It's okay to say that some of the practices that we into is a bunch of foolishness. But people call it sacrilegious when they start talking like that, because we've been taught religion as if we are children. This imaginary person in the sky is going to come down and strike lightning and rain brimstone and fire on us if we start using our brain to think. But that's just the condition that we've been put into, the trick bag. And I think that it's a slow process, but eventually I am an optimist. And I feel like with discussions like these, we'll start thinking more and we'll get out of it. It'll take a long time, but we'll eventually get out of it. But I'll leave it there, Coco.
Appreciate that one. I agree with what you said too. Good comments in the chat. I'm going to read those in one quick second. What I want to do is just replay the video just one more time, and then we'll continue this. We'll continue the discussion after I read the comments in the chat.
You are talking about witches and witches leaving their body. I can show you and teach you many places in the Bible.
This is Helena Capabio. Calling herself Lady Apostle, she heads the Liberty Foundation Gospel Ministries in Nigeria, and she believes that she can save her country from witchcraft. But instead of denouncing other women as witches, she preaches that the devil now targets children as recruits. Unfortunately, she's not just some random lunatic with a twisted imagination. Helen and her church are largely responsible for the recent wave of witch hysteria that has broken out all across West Africa, which has resulted in thousands of children to be starved, beaten, brutalized, tortured, abandoned, and even murdered by followers of her insane beliefs that witch children ruin the lives of not just their families, but of whole villages. She produces and distributes ridiculous movies that have played a very significant role in whipping up this hysteria. The most well-known is End of the Wicked, which specifically and graphically details how witch children steal the souls of other children and initiate them into witchcraft. These productions, along with the dumbing down of the destitute and uneducated masses who flock her church of over 150 branches, have made her one of the wealthiest preachers in the Niger Delta. And now she's coming to the United States. In May 2012, the self-proclaimed Lady Apostle will be hosting a series of sermons called 12 Days of Battling in the Spirit of Freedom at the Liberty Gospel Church in Houston. The original date was for mid-March, but according to Pastor Godwin Umutong, who heads her Houston branch, the event has been moved back to make time for extra preparations. Curiously, I was unable to find an address or contact information anywhere on the internet that states where exactly the Liberty Gospel Church is located, which leads me to suspect that it's not an established church at all. Perhaps it will be some clandestine meeting that only a few will be allowed to attend. Who knows? However, Helena Capabio has visited Houston before, back in May 2010, during which she preached at the Glorious Praise Ministries, which is headed by Nigerian pastor Jonathan David. Maybe this is where the Liberty Gospel Church will be set up. To get a clearer view of what we're dealing with, one need only to read a few passages from her book, Unveiling the Mysteries of Witchcraft, which includes her explanations of how to acquire and detect witchcraft in children, including infants, stating, quote, "If a child under the age of 2 screams in the night, cries, and is always feverish with deteriorating health, he or she is a servant of Satan." And according to her films of stellar production value, other telltale signs of witchcraft include having little interest in school, being temperamental, and talking back to one's parents.
I noticed something she said just now too. Notice how media is used, production value is put behind some of this stuff. That's a part of how you get people invested and interested in stuff. If it was some shabby, old-timey type thing she was putting together, people probably mightn't even fall, but because it's well done. This is why I always I try to make the experience on Shoot the Breeze to look good, because it's not just that we speak about things well and we have good discussions, but does it appeal to people to tune in as well? So that's something we have to keep in mind too. When we're talking about strategies of Pan-Africanists and whatnot, we have to put out material that stands that stands out and stands up against all the other folks who are putting out material too. With that said, Anthony, you saw the video now. What say you to this?
Yeah, cool. I was just thinking. I was listening to what you said about because basically what you talking about propaganda, right? Coco?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm sorry, I had to unmute my mic. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay, propaganda. No, like in ways to get your message out. I think about this. Okay, I used to Coco. Bear with me for a minute. I used to look at a lot of it. I used to look at. You remember back probably in the late 80s, 90s. They had this show, the A&E channel. They probably still have it, the A&E channel. Well, they used to have this show used to come on every now and then about the fatal attraction of Adolf Hitler. Have you ever heard of it?
No.
Well, it was a fatal attraction of Adolf Hitler, and they was talking about his propaganda minister, Joseph Goebbels. You know what I'm saying? And the things that how they manipulated. I mean, first of all, Hitler was like, they had this myth about the Aryan. He looked nothing like the superior Aryan man. But I'm saying, so what they had to do, he used propaganda to shape the people's minds. Okay, now going back to the subject, I'm saying, okay, one of the first things that the Europeans did when they got a foothold in the continent, in Africa, the first thing they did, like, okay, when they built those castles, and the African men and women who they brought to the castle, who were going to be transported across the ocean, one of the things they did was build a chapel right there at the castle, and they would hold service. You know what I'm saying? And that's where the indoctrination into Christianity began. Into making the traditional belief systems, the systems of our people, they began to demonize it. You know what I'm saying? And push the European white Christian philosophy, ideology. That's the first thing they did. Okay, this is why you're a slave, because you was with that other bullshit. You know what I'm saying? But we're gonna save your soul here, but you're gonna have to go through some shit. You gotta walk through the valley of the shadow of death. You know what I'm saying? So that's the first thing that they did. Now, if you fast forward to now, I mean, the white man's God still rule in our people's minds. And not only the white man's God, but the darker skinned white man's God, the Arab God. You know what I'm saying? The Islamic God still rules in our people's mind. Not only is our people in Africa and in other places, using Christianity to justify some bullshit that they do against our own people, but the Arabs do too. That's why the Muslims do too. Our people who embrace Islam do the same thing. That's why you see stuff like Boko Haram. You know what I'm saying? And what's the other one? The one in East Africa and associated with Al Qaeda. But all over. You know what I'm saying? It's these Abrahamic religions. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they built a stronghold in our minds. Malcolm X said, you ask your when the man said, I ain't left nothing in Africa, you ask your African mind. And our African mind is what we started out with. Our traditions, our beliefs, our mores, everything that we started out with. That's why when people say, I remember we did a show and a brother was asking about what did spirituality do for you and what does spirituality do, and at that time, I didn't really say too much because, I'm not into the arguing and stuff. But I'm saying your spirituality is the basis of who you are. You know what I'm saying? All the important stuff, whether it's Islam or Christianity, and I hear, and I know I let somebody get mad at me, but up to that, the political ideologies too, that ain't ours. You know what I'm saying? We have our own political ideologies, our own social ideologies. But when we embrace all this other stuff, we become not ourselves. You ask your damn African mind. You know what I'm saying? You can't embrace other people's shit and still be an African in your mind. You might look like an African, but you're going to be an African European. You're going to be an African American. You know what I'm saying? You're going to have all of this bullshit that you're dealing with. Think about this. This is how slick they is. They will tell you, they will get their own book and show you this, Coco. Now check this out. I don't know if you ever thought about this. They would get their own book and tell you the truth but they'll tell it to you in a way that you don't believe it. Now they told you that. Now check it out. Now they told you about Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. They told you about God. And had God had all, he told you all of this here, everything that God told you, but God told you not to go to a tree. You know what I'm saying? Don't go to that tree. Okay, so Eve went to the tree. And he got the serpent in the tree. Now, if you think about what the serpent said, the serpent told her, if you bite off the tree, you're going to have all kind of knowledge. You know what I'm saying? You're going to have knowledge of this, of that. The serpent basically told you could be a god too. You know what I'm saying? You could be a god too. Okay. At the same time, in the ancient Greek mythology, in the religion of the ancient Greek people, they had a character like the serpent too. He was called Prometheus. Now, Prometheus got fire, and he went to the people, you know, and he explained to the people all of this stuff, say that you don't have to go through by letting the gods on Mount Olympus, you know, put you through all of this. He was basically telling them that the power is within you. You ain't got to go through these people for this bullshit. And what happened? They got Prometheus and put him on a mountain and let a vulture eat his heart out. You know what I'm saying? So you had Prometheus doing that. You had the devil doing this here. Satan doing this here. The serpent in the tree doing this here. So basically, they was really telling you this really a bunch of bullshit. All we're trying to do is control your mind. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they even let you know that the serpent even told you, man, you could bite off this tree and open your eyes and you can see the world for what it is, and you can go out and do this and do that. You know what I'm saying? You can lay there and challenge what this authority said, because you know it was a patriarchal thing. This was the changing of gods in the world from the matriarchal system, to the patriarchal system. I mean, from the European point of view. You know what I'm saying? In Africa and even in parts of the so-called Middle East and Near East, at that time they had when I say matriarchal, it was a nature-based concept. I mean, this don't mean that women was running shit, but it just means that we revered the mother goddess. You know what I'm saying? Because the mother goddess brought forth life. You know, I mean, the trees had fruits. The crops came from the mother earth. You know what I'm saying? It don't mean that mother goddess ruled the world and everything, but it was just but at this time, this was when the Eurasians started coming down from the Russian steppes and from Central Asia, from out of Europe, with this Iceman mentality, and start establishing this other shit, this patriarchal kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? And so this patriarchal thing led to a god that's sitting, like Warner said, sitting up there by himself, just dictating this and dictating that, and telling you this and that, you gonna die for this. In Africa, we didn't have no concept of no bullshit like that. You know what I'm saying? Of no hell and all of this old mess. So I'm just saying, these Abrahamic religions have played a hell of a trick on our minds. They continue to do that. I mean, even you could think of even some of our great leaders, even Malcolm, like Brother Malcolm, as much as I love Brother Malcolm. I love Brother Malcolm. I mean, you can't tell me nothing bad about Brother Malcolm. I mean, because I rather look at all of the great things that he did. But, he still had that old, kind of like that Islamic thing would tie to the Arabism a little bit. Well, it was more in Farrakhan, because Farrakhan is an Arabist. You know what I'm saying? I don't care what nobody says. He's an Arabist, you know what I mean? Going around sprouting this old Hamitic myth shit. You know what I'm saying? But that kind of, I mean, that old idea, those Abrahamic religions are one of the most deadly things to ever happen to African people. That's why, guess what? Both from John brother could say, I forgive you. Okay. That's why the brothers and sisters at Mary at the church in South Carolina who got killed could say, we forgive you. You know what I'm saying? Because God is love. And when we think of God in this concept, in this reality in the West, and guess what? You know who God look like? Some old honky. You know what I'm saying? And we look at, and when we see that white God, we say, well, these white people, that's God's people. They always run around talking about the chosen people. We them not the chosen people. That's why so many of us ride with Israel. Oh, but them the chosen people. They chosen from evil. They ain't chosen from shit. You know what I'm saying? But that kind of thing is just it's deep in our minds. Like 4Kast said, we spooked out. You know what I'm saying? on this old fake jive ass bullshit that don't mean nothing. But see, the bottom line was that was for them to control our minds. I mean, I know I've been going on too long, man. I'll knock off right there, Coco.
Now you ain't going too long. 4Kast stepped off the panel. I guess he had to go. So we got a little bit more breathing room for each panelist to speak. But you know, this is why I spoke the way I spoke about organizing how we repatriate. We're going to see some comments here. Black Seal, I'll get to you in 1 minute. I'm going to read some comments first. But we'll see in one of the comments here how someone repatriated, linked up with a Ghanaian and became Christian, going back to the continent. Imagine someone going back and linking up with one of these congregants here. So this is why I said it has to be organized to, we got to get our language game together out here, our spirituality game together, so that when we go back to really be African. In the chat, Trigger Happy said, yeah, New Age spirituality is just individualism, honesty. Laurel said, people are attracted to the enigma of things. It's a vessel to rationalize BS, to put it simply. It's why I believe in secular states. I support ATRs at the forefront of our societies. But yeah, LOL. Cheryl said, but drinking the blood of Jesus and eating the body of Jesus is not a ritual of chaos? Okay, crazy lady. Black CeeLo there in the chat said, but who wants to repatriate the Dismas? We're going to get a chance to hear more of that from him in a second. Afro Native World is here. He said, greetings. An interesting story I heard was a diasporan African spiritualist. And look at this. A diasporan African spiritualist who moved to the motherland with the intention to live African. She met a Christian Ghanaian brother and is now Christian. He goes on to say, so de-Africanization also happens in continental neo-colonial states, even with intentions of re-Africanization. Laro said, yeah, is adolescent. Trigger says, I support the unification of African spiritual practice to encompass African cultural power. Any other strategy will just be a submission to Abrahamic practices or atheism. Cheryl said, but black people want to worship a white man and a stick. A white man on a stick, quoted by Obed Ali Campbell. And this doesn't cause psychological and mental harm, ? Right? She said black Christians in the States think that way too. She says in the US, black Christians be scared of voodoo. Same difference, same sickness. Lero says, I'm personally an agnostic, so forgive my bias, but yes, every spiritual/religion comes with a load of BS that nobody wants to check, so I believe in it alone. Afro-Native World says, also diasporans go in there who want to assimilate, and assimilation is into the dominant culture, Christianity or Islam. Once again, you guys are making that strong point. There's many more comments in the chat. I'll try to get some of them after Black Steel goes. But one last one is Azuliism, who's still out there. He says, again, this Candyland. You can't destroy Candyland. We've been here long where you can't be Candyland. Guy, stop with the Candyland thing. He says, so what African spirituality is used against their own? So what African spirituality is used against their own?
I want to answer that. Yeah. Because I don't know why Urzuli don't click the link. But needless to say,
why are we talking about African spirituality in this conversation? This is a Christian woman.
That's true. That is.
What are we talking about? African
No,
has nothing to do with this.
No, that's true. But I gotta answer him because he's having fun. As far as Candyland goes, right? Rome was the Candyland of their day. But where's Rome right now? Rome is gone. So obviously Candyland can end, you know. Urzuli, Candyland can end. I just want to remind you that all these, they had different civilization. England was the Candyland of its day. Where is England? They used to say the sun will never set on the British, the sun will never set. Where is that? Where's Candyland? Where is the British Candyland? That's gone. This Candyland going too, bro. This Candyland going, you know. That's all I wanted to say, Kuku.
No problem, no problem. Yeah, Zuli, click the link and come up, man. This conversation, you could add something too. Now,
Please
you've
don't.
heard everything everyone else had to say. Black Steel, what are your thoughts on this problem?
I'm confused as to why African spirituality is even brought up in the context of this conversation. This woman is a Bible thumper, Jesus, Mary, Paul, Joseph, the disciples believer. This has nothing to do with African spirituality. This woman is abusing children. Okay. So let me give some historical parallels because I'm big into history, and thank you, Anthony McPhail, for mentioning Prometheus. I never thought of Prometheus as an analog of Satan, but it's a good point you made about him bringing fire to mankind. Also, Prometheus was set free from the vultures by Hercules, so shout out to him. But but anyways, when people are faced with tough economic times, they're uncertain about their future, they turn to spirituality, right? And there's a lot of parallels I see with the Salem witch trials. Now, me being a product of the American state of Florida public school system, in 11th grade, we had to read The Crucible, which talks about, these people who were being accused of being witches by these white girls in Salem, Massachusetts. One of the first people they accused of being a witch was a woman, I believe she was from Barbados, named Tituba. And they claimed Tituba was working with the devil and she taught them witchcraft and everything else. But underlying that, these white people who were living in New England at the time, they were under a state of constant threat. Attacks by the Indians, the threat of starvation. They were in a wilderness they weren't familiar with. So in their minds, Satan was everywhere, right? And they would look for things like, oh, this person's acting strange or they're doing this. Now, fast forward 400 years, and you see Africans replicating the very same things that white people did back in Europe, back in America during the early colonial period. During the Black Death in Europe, when the bubonic plague was spreading everywhere, people didn't know about bacteria and viruses and diseases. They said, oh, it's got to be the witches. So they would just round up anybody who looked suspicious and they burn them at the stake. They torture them into confessions. Oh, he wasn't at mass on Sunday. Obviously, they're having a communion with the devil, right? So they would just find anybody because they didn't understand. So I go through all that because I want to make a point as to where the Niger Delta, right? So the Niger Delta is one of the most polluted places on earth, right? So just looking it up, it says that the European Union has experienced 10 incidences of oil spills in 40 years. Nigeria recorded 9,343 cases within 10 years. So this has impacted their ecosystem. It has the forests, the wetlands, the mangrove forests have been destroyed. So these people are suffering due to the environment degradation and runaway crony capitalism because they can extract Nigeria's oil without any concern of any type of regulations, no type of environmental safety. Fuck them niggas. Let's get this money. And that's how Shell and BP and all these other oil corporations are treating this. And these people, many of these African people, are powerless to stop the true source of their suffering. So what do they? They attack the most vulnerable members of their society, which is the children. And these Abrahamic religions, this disease of our mind, has us cannibalizing our young people, our future. We have no future without the children. There's a video, I don't know if it's a video, it's a picture of a white woman. She's giving this black child who was starving. He had been abandoned by his mother because he was conceived to be a witch. And the whole society ostracized this little child. And it was a white one, I think she might have been Dutch, feeding this black child some water that's literally dying. And these people we've taken the white man's religion to an extent that they don't even take it to anymore. White people don't follow Christianity to this extent anymore. If you go to Europe right now, a large population of Europe's Christians, they're atheists. You have a lot of Europeans who have turned their churches into libraries and schools because nobody's going there. Now you still have a really strong religious movement in America, but even that atheism is really growing. It's the fastest growing belief in the United States. It's I'm not saying it's going to take over anytime soon, but it's a growing movement. But African people are the most religious people on earth. 95% of them belong to Abrahamic religions, meaning Judaism and Christianity. So it's very frustrating. To me, especially when we were talking about African spirituality, because there's nothing about African spirituality in this context. This is the harm and the cause that have been done to us by these Abrahamic religious faiths. Like you have black people supporting Israel because they believe they're God's chosen people. Meanwhile, Israel has one of the largest atheist populations in the world. The founder of Zionism, Theodore Herzl, wasn't atheist. He didn't believe in God. We believe in their gods more than they believe in them. And what gets me angry, and to be honest, I don't know what to do because I'm frustrated. Maybe y'all can hear it in my voice. I don't know what to do. If you point this out to a black person who is a strong Christian believer, they will turn on you. Okay? I got people who I can't even go to their house anymore because I've expressed my disdain for their religious beliefs. And I've been in relationships where women have broken up with me because I didn't want to go to church with her. Because I don't want to be this is a sore point of contention within our community because we're so religious. And I understand the reason for it is because we are people who are suffering. And when people suffer, they want something to make them feel better. Opiate of the masses, as Marx described it. People want to find some meaning in their suffering. And that's why I think that these Abrahamic religions are so prominent. One, we've already demonized our own religion. African religions are already seen as witchcraft, is evil, is this, is that, it's whatever the fuck they say. So now they want to cling to, and they say, oh, now we're Christian, and but this woman is abusing, out of all the bullshit, this woman is abusing children. Children have died from this. Broken bones, lacerated cuts, abuse. For what? Because they don't want to go to school? They don't listen. I got a class full of tip to the 16-year-old kids who don't want to be there. If by her knowledge, I got a class full of witches. Somebody give me a super soaker, fill it with holy water. I got a room full of witches. Because they're kids. That's what their kids do. But she's taking normal child behavior and trying to put something demonic and evil on it. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. If we need African spirituality because this is what the end result of Christianity, of these Abrahamic faiths, is that you hate your own. You end up hating hating yourself because they have demonized everything that's connected us to Africa. And the end result is that you end up hating yourself and you cannibalize your own children. And that's exactly what she's doing. I'll leave it there. I think I said enough. Thanks.
Yeah, why are you bringing up African spirituality, Black Steel?
Again, why we keep talking about African spirituality? I'm just simply saying that African spirituality is not the demon in this situation. It's, to me, I feel like that this woman, she herself has demonized African spirituality, and she's making African spirituality to be witchcraft and evil, and she's putting a child who's feverish, who can't sleep at night, as witch. Do you know how many children they're going to abuse and kill and brutalize? What? Why does this woman have such a following? Hundreds of thousands of people follow this woman. She's clearly in it for the money. Why does she have so many people kissing her? She came to the U.S. to preach at a church. Like, what is happening right now?
I don't know if Anthony wanted to add something.
Yeah, cool. Just for a minute, I was kind of clear. I was trying to get a clear understanding of what Carl was saying when you said about bringing up African spirituality. Who were you talking to? What you were saying?
Oh, I'm talking about one in the chat.
Oh, okay. Because I mean, I was just wondering what you said about something I said. Because that's not what I said.
No. I'm just in the chat. They mentioned African spirituality.
Oh,
and I'm like,
I know. I just want to be clear.
Yeah, this is
I just want to be clear.
Yeah, spirituality. This happens to the point in that Africans have embraced Christianity, Islam, to the point where they hate themselves. That's really my goal, is that the African self-image, the racial esteem that we have is very low, and I believe that's a direct result of our adherence to these colonizer religions.
Hey, cool. Can I say something real quick, or I can wait?
Yeah.
I can wait.
Go ahead.
Okay. This is what I wanted to say. Okay. Even like I go back. I grew up as a church boy. I grew up a church boy, so I make references to the church. Because I grew up there, but I use a lot of what they say, to illustrate a point. Okay. Check this out real quick, Coco. Now, in the book, in the Bible, in the Bible, it's a scripture. I can't remember where it's at, but it said how the people suffer for a lack of knowledge. Okay. Now, just think about the effects that Christianity, especially European brand Christianity, has had on the mind of African people. Okay, and to the point of, it is as far as like demonizing our own traditional beliefs, our belief systems, our own spirituality. I want to show you something real quick. Just bear with me just for a minute. Okay, in the 5th century, around the 5th century CE, I'm going to Europe. Now there were groups of people migrating all over Europe. Now this was the time of the Roman Empire. Around the 5th century, the 5th century, 4th century, the 5th century, the 400 CE. Okay, now you had different groups of Germanic people and different people roaming across Europe, across Eurasia. You had one group of people who were known as Goths. I know we've heard, the Goths, like as in the Visigoths. These Germanic tribes who had a long conflict with the Roman Empire. Okay, in the middle of the 5th century, one particular Gothic leader of one of these Gothic tribes, his name was Gaut, G-A-U-T, G-A-W-T, Gaut. Okay, Gaut, obviously he was a man he was an impressive figure, you know what I'm saying, that the people, his people loved him, he had a lot of influence. Well, he led his group of Germanic people to Scandinavia, to the Scandinavia region in northern Europe. The land that they ended up in was in what is now modern day Sweden. Okay, so in southern Sweden, well, in the part of Sweden where he lived at, that name, he was such an impressive figure, a great warrior or whatever. Okay, they called that land, and it's still called today. It's called Gotland. It's Gotland, Gotland. Okay, well, about this character Gaut, he was such an impressive figure that his people deified him. When he died, they made him into like a demigod or a god. No, he was a deity. Now, over time, in the same period, around the 5th century, you had Germanic invasions to the British Islands of these people from northern Germany, these Germanic people known to us today as the Saxons and the Angles, where you get the word Anglo-Saxon. You had a group that was called the Angles, you had a group that was called the Saxons. They came successively after each other. So they invaded Britain and they displaced the Celtic population. So they brought their culture, they brought their language, they brought their religion. Okay, by the time the 5th, 6th century, the latter part of 5th, 6th century, where England became a Christian country, where it became like a, when most of them had been converted to Christianity, no, it was in stages. They still maintain a lot of the old belief systems. But one of the most powerful belief systems with the powerful deities in the area was God, G-A-W-T, God, G-A-W-T, God. He was one of the most powerful of the deities, one of the most respected and revered of the deities. But guess what? God eventually, when England became fully Christianity, God became, guess who? God. So when you worship God, we're saying God. See, God came from God. That word, that's where it came from. When they got it later on Anglicized, because English went through different varieties, Middle English and different English. But anyway, God, the name God came from God, who was a Germanic deity. And so I wonder if today our people, like I said, we suffer from a lack of knowledge. If we do, then right now, when you put down African traditional belief system for Christianity, you still worship an old pagan god named God. You know what I'm saying? Okay, that was all from the Gothic people. You know what I'm saying? I mean, but we put him up as like this is God. You know what I'm saying? We all God. And God's the ruler. I mean, he was just a man. He was no divine deity from heaven. He was just a man who was a warrior and a leader and whatever. You know what I'm saying? Who died and rotted in the ground. And this is who we trade our African spirituality, our own belief system, for an old Germanic warrior. I just wanted to leave it there. I'll leave it right there.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing. I didn't know all that. By the way, I think the scripture is Hosea 5 and 6.
So I want to say something before you move on, Koku. I know it's getting kind of late. Look at how this religion has caused us to hate our people. Look what happened in Haiti. All the earthquake a couple years ago. They were saying, oh, the earthquake was God's punishment because the Haitians used voodoo to get themselves free, right? Because we demonized Africa and Africans and African beliefs. We were quick to believe that our people were being punished because of the sin, quote unquote, sin of being African. And I'll give you another example. When Hurricane Katrina hit New Orleans, there were many who said, oh, this is God's wrath against the city of New Orleans because they practice voodoo and whatnot. Mind you, at the time, the city of New Orleans was well over 80% Black. But you had Black people, Black Americans, Black Christians who believed that God was punishing them because of whatever religious belief they had. And you see how this religion, this Christianity, has caused us to hate ourselves and to overlook the suffering of other Black people. Now, you never see white Christians talk about how God's punishing, when all those floods and earthquakes and whatnot. You might hear a couple of people, those evangelical Christians talk about, oh, they're punishing them because they support abortion, whatever the fuck. But you don't really see the self-hatred that African people have towards other Black people when they're experiencing hardship, because in their mind they deserved it for some reason, because God doesn't make mistakes. And it's just so frustrating to me that this religion has such a hold on our minds. And I get people are scared. People don't know what the future is going to hold. People are concerned what happens to after they die. It's a traditional thing. My grandma went to church. Her mama went to church. I was baptized and all the other stuff. It's a situation that to me is extremely frustrating, because I see just how easy it is for African people to be caught up in these things and to end up hating themselves and what they come from.
Appreciate that, Black Steel. Let's welcome in our boy Azuliism. How are you this week?
I'm fine.
Just turn up your volume a little bit.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. People say, what does African spirituality have to do with it? Isn't that lady fighting against African spirituality? How you gonna tell me what does that have to do with it? What that video is talking about her fighting witchcraft?
But Azul, before you go any further, she's referring to witchcraft in the Christian essence of it. She's not talking about witchcraft. She's talking about Christian witchcraft in the form of Christianity.
But Christianity looks at African spirituality as witchcraft.
But she's describing normal children behavior like sleeping, being disobedient as signs of people being possessed by Satan. She said Satan, not African spirit, but Satan himself. So,
bro, what I'm trying to tell you is that Christians look at Satan. So, me being from Haiti and stuff like that. So when I hear Haitian Christian people talking about Satan, African spirituality is satanic to them. It's not about, only Americans call African spirituality African spirituality. We in Haiti, they don't call that shit African spirituality. It's just straight voodoo. And then and voodoo is regarded as satanic by the Catholic Church, by Christians, and all of that. So me saying that either way, all the spiritualities have left us fucked up. Christianity, Islam, voodoo, Ife, all that shit don't work. So I said the reason I said what I said, we talking about African spirituality. The African spirituality, we use it against each other. The so-called superpower of the motherland, the superpower, you don't use it against the enemy. You use it against yourself. Your neighbor's son is going to Europe for college. No, you go to your spiritual advisor. You get something to f him up. Oh, this guy's making more money. Let me go do this route to take it. Oh, I'm with this girl. She don't want me, bro. And this is you black people don't want to be honest that black people have some shit inside themselves that's disease, that's cancerous. It has nothing to do, because if we look at it, when I read the Bible, there's a bunch of good things in the Bible that tell you how to treat your neighbor, how to not treat your neighbor, how to govern yourself, how to not govern yourself. Also, there's a lot of BS in there. Since we say black people are the creator of civilization, so white people didn't get the Bible from themselves. They got some of that shit from black people. Islam, you read some of the Quran, they got some good stuff in the Quran that tells you how to govern yourself, how to be a good human being to your neighbors. But the majority of black people in America are Christians. A lot of people in Africa are Christian. Look at, how is that helping y'all? Christianity not helping y'all. African spirituality not helping y'all, because at the end of the day, there's some shit wrong with y'all that y'all need to fix. Maybe we need therapy. I don't know who's going to give us the therapy, but that's what I was referring to. We're talking about, let's go back to African spirituality. Niggas is using African spirituality to destroy each other. And people are going to say, I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm Haitian. A lot of Haitian people use voodoo against each other. How come they're not using the voodoo against barbecue? That's destroying Haiti right now. How come they use all that spirituality against the Kenyans that come here? Oh, please. Where's that Christian? Where's the African spirituality there? So I'm saying that this lady, yes, I agree with you. This lady is mental. But you know what? There's mad African people supporting her. There's mad American people, black Americans supporting her. If she comes here, they're gonna roll out the red carpet for her. Not knowing what she's doing to children, because maybe a child has an issue. Because when I was younger, I couldn't sleep early. I was up all night in my bed because I couldn't sleep. I don't know what it is till today. So I'm just saying that it's not about Jesus, Allah, Anansi, Ogu. Yo, there's something wrong with black people, because none of those things we're talking about, Jesus Christ, Allah, Ezeli, Ogu, where they at? I could use Haiti personally. Look at Haiti. Where's all of that? So we want to attack this lady. She's a creation of us. She's a creation of all of us. She's not popular by herself. They got a lot of black people. It's not even her. Even if you look at the freaking Christian church today, the Christian church today is telling black people, and I'm gonna bring this something closer to, oh, it's okay to go to go abortion, to kill your kids. Meanwhile, the book that they're talking about said abortion is bad. What's the difference between her and those big mega black church here today?
So first of all, I don't know of any Christian church that approves abortion, but I don't think that's really what we're talking about here. We're not talking about fetus. We're talking about children who are actually living and breathing. And you said something is wrong with black people. And I agree. Something is wrong with black people. What's wrong with black people is white people. Okay? Because we live in a racist, anti-black world that has done everything possible to subjugate us. That's what's wrong with black people. See, my argument is that something is, when you say something is wrong with black people, yeah, we agree on that. It's these guys, but see, my thing is, I'm not going to say something is wrong with it internally. The fact is, we are under control by our enemy, is what the problem is. I'm going to always point the finger at these crackers before I point the finger at another black person. Always, every time. 7 days a week.
No.
But again, my issue. I don't know what church y'all go to. The church liberal flying gay flag. I don't know what church y'all go to. Y'all must live up north or something. Because down here, yeah, ain't nobody doing all that.
That's a lie. That's a lie.
Where I'm telling you, I live in the South, Zuli. I live in the Bible Belt. Okay?
What is that? There's a guy that invited Kamala Harris to come to his church. That's down south.
Where at?
So what do you mean that it's not happening down south, bro?
Okay, but that baby, okay, he invited Kamala Harris to come to his church. So what? A lot of politicians. So because he invited Kamala Harris, he's too liberal, or is that what you're saying?
My brother, he said abortion. Do you know what Kamala Harris stands for?
Listen, Kamala Harris herself, and I'm not a Kamala Harris fan, right? But the Republican, but I'm gonna say this: when the Democrats could have codified the decision by the Supreme Court into law, they didn't. They could have made it a law, and they didn't. And I'm speaking to somebody who does, usually support abortion. I'm not against it. I'm gonna be honest with y'all. Go ahead and burn me at the stake. You want to fight? Let's do it. But I'm not against abortion, honestly. But again, I don't even see. We're talking about abortion, and we're talking about a woman.
I'm talking about the fact that the church is corrupt. The church in Africa is corrupt. The church in America is corrupt. The African spirituality is fucking corrupt. The voodoo is corrupt. Everything's fucking corrupt. There's something wrong with black people.
Yes, white supremacy was wrong with us. White domination is our problem.
No. White supremacy. Oh, so what you gonna do? So you're gonna wait another 1,000 years and blame white people?
No, Julie. We're not. Listen, we're just talking about right now. We're not talking about it. So we're talking about the problem. We both agree.
We can't be blaming them.
Why not?
Why?
Why not? Why can't we?
When you
wait. See, this is my problem with you, Razuli. You let these white people off the hook, and they shouldn't be let off the hook.
I'm not letting nobody off the hook.
But here's the thing. You can't look at black people's condition and look at it from a holistic view. You sit back and step back and say, why are black people the way they are? And when you look at black people and look at the way we are, you can't leave out the fact that we've been under almost half a millennium of consistent attack. We are a people under siege relentlessly. It's like when, I give you an example. It's like when, and not talking about yourself, but you have some black people who come from other countries, right? And they talk about, well, why is it that black Americans haven't done this and they haven't done that? And, but then you forget the fact that, hey, from the time black people were in this country, enslavement for 250 years. Then after that, they had to deal with Jim Crow, lynchings, race riots. They had to deal with redlining and the theft of resources and all that other stuff. So you can't look at black people's condition, right? But then ignore what has been done to us consistently to this day. We just talked about a black man who was murdered in his home by the police just a few minutes ago. So that's my own thing. Whenever you say something wrong with us, I agree. But what's wrong with us is not an internal thing; it's an external thing. And then, even if it is, say, internal, Black people are maladapted. We have adapted poorly to an oppressive situation. It's like when people talk about the crabs in the barrel thing, right? The crabs in the barrel, Black people are crabs in the barrel. That's a good analogy because the barrel is not the crab's natural habitat. The crabs were taken from their home, placed in an oppressive situation, and now they're responding inappropriately because they're not where they need to be at. And that's whenever we had these conversations, I just want to put the point is, yeah, but Black people's condition is a result of our oppression. That's all I'm saying.
Do you know that before the civil rights movement, that Black people, a lot of Black people were getting married at like 90% of the 90% percentage? So you say that we face stuff, but we also have recovered to a certain degree. When Black people were not allowed to go to the white man's store, they built their own. They did their own. So why would, as soon as they enter, why would Black people champion integration? So for us to say that Black people didn't recover after, because we've been oppressed. Look at all the town they built. You know who destroyed that? Which is what you're gonna say. What you're gonna say. But you cannot in movies. Dracula can't come into your house unless you invite them. I'm talking about what's that invitation that we? Why do we always want to invite that in? We can't keep blaming that. This church lady, what I'm saying, this church lady, yes, she's not a good person. Yes, is that, but it seems to be like everybody will. African spirituality is trash now. These people, most of the people in there are about money. Oh, I'm gonna contact your ancestor, but you gotta give me $500. So what I'm saying when I said the African spirituality is that, yo, in all level, it's corrupt. The way that African spirituality, or whatever we want to call it, native spirituality was before, it's not like that anymore. So if I understand what you're saying, that we've been oppressed, all of that, but when are we going to say, okay? So we're never going to say that? We're going to keep blaming that? So it's going to go another 500 years, another 200. We're going to keep, when are we going to take our, self-determination to say, you know what? We're not going to be corrupt anymore. We're not going to betray. We're not going to be immoral anymore. Because everything starts with being immoral and being unrighteous. Because if you're somebody that loves your brother, you're not going to let somebody come in and give you $500 just to sell out your brother. That's what I'm saying. And we will. All these things are under attack because at the core, I don't know what it is, but our people have an issue. That's what I'm saying.
Just quickly, I want to read a couple of things I see in the chat that I think is actually pretty good. Lero says, our inaction is playing in our oppression too, though. I'll never let the enemy off the hook, but the enemy ain't going to solve our problems. It's your enemy. Our situation is on us. So she's speaking kind of in defense of Razuli, and I kind of understand where Razuli's coming from. But definitely is what Black Steel is talking about. I'm not taking this white boy off the hook, but there's stuff that we allow ourselves to perpetrate in and amongst our own people, man. Shout out to Jose, who's out there. I guess he just woke up from a 7-hour sleep. Afro Native World says, per Zuli point, capitalism and Western corrupted so much. Trigger Happy 262 Plus says, now listening to Zuli, he seems to forget, I said earlier, African spirituality exists in the condition of capitalism. It should be paired with its economic counterpart and political counterpart. Now, that's an excellent little point that I like that Trigger Happy keeps on this line of thinking. But if you unpair your spirituality from your politics, your economics, yes, it's not gonna be useful to you. It's not gonna look good either. not going to be useful to you, not going to look good because it's not operating within its operating system.
Explain. I don't understand. Are you? I don't understand what he's saying. Is he saying like the separation of state and church?
What he's saying is everything is paired. It's like the analogy I just used with the operating system. You can't use Mac software with Windows, right? It has to be compatible. And so your way of life, the culture, the politics, the education, the spirituality, all that will work together. Well, right now what's happening is there's an attempt to practice certain Africanisms, like African spirituality, for example, within a capitalistic system, a foreign system. Therefore, it's going to look different. It's going to look foreign. It's going to be corrupted because it's not paired properly. It's the same thing like a computer. If you use a bad memory stick, it's going to crash the whole system. It's not paired properly. And that's one of the things we can't forget, too. We can't forget who the enemy is, like Black Steel is saying. But we can't forget, too, that we are operating outside of our African self. So even our spirituality, and it took me a long time to recognize that, too, that even our spirituality, of course, it doesn't work. We're not in the right system. It's not paired with the right operating system. It's going to crash. It's going to be corrupted. Go ahead.
But the question, I saw Trigger Happy. Okay, yeah, thanks, Coco. You really explained that. And then I saw why you said, I get that. I understand what you both guys are saying. So how are we going to pair the right system? So we're just going to keep going? Because the enemy is not going to pair it for us. Don't you see what they do?
That's why we're talking about being organized. That's exactly why we talk about being organized so much. We got to get organized into what the problem is first and foremost, then organize into coming up with strategies to eradicate it from now and eradicate it from the future, right? So that's why we keep talking about organization handles all of this, because when the organization is right, it covers all of the major aspects of human living for us. We got to get all this shit back together. We won't be our best African spiritual selves in a system of capitalism. And in a Western culture, it just won't happen. Go ahead, Warner.
No, for me, and listening to Erzuli is a conservative, and I go halfway with my conservative brothers when I hear them speak. I go halfway because I believe in personal responsibility. I'm not a big believer in abortion and certain things in which some of the conservative brothers say. But where I get off of that train is, it seems when I hear the arguments, is they completely absolve the system itself, which means that it's almost as if the system is fair, and but for Black people acting in a certain way or behaving in a certain way, they'll be able to benefit and win. And I think that in doing that, they absolve the system itself from the unjustness of the system and the creators of that system. That's where I kind of get off that train and line of thinking. Because when you hear them be critical, they're only critical of Black people's behavior and not necessarily critical of the designers of the system itself. And we all know who that is. And I'm not saying you shouldn't completely blame the white man or the white system for your problems. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that, but to completely absolve them from the system that they set up, the unjust system that they set up, that's where we part company, me and my conservative brethren. You know what I mean? But I just wanted to put that out there. But I'll leave it there. I'll leave it.
All right. It seems like that's all. Oh,
Well,
I'm sorry.
Bawana, one of your people you look up to, what's his name? Marcus Garvey. You know what he said about enemies? That there would be no enemy without an enemy within. That was Marcus Garvey's quote. I
agree with that.
No, you don't. No. You don't agree with that. You don't agree with that, because if you did, you would have never said what you just said.
But really, if I say I believe in personal responsibility, that's dealing with the enemy within as well. If
you don't really know personal. Shut up. You don't believe in nothing. You just look at them blame me. Oh, let's blame Massa. Let's blame Massa.
You see, so that's why I have to say, who's that nigga on that nag when I talk to you? Because y'all conservative brothers only hear one thing. Y'all only hear one thing. But I like I say, I agree with you. I agree with my conservative brothers up to a point. But to the next point where they want to completely forgive, I don't agree with them. I don't go that far. I just don't go that far.
Let me ask you a question, Boana.
Yes, sir.
If I tell you don't go down that alley,
yes,
they got 50 hungry pit bulls,
yes.
right?
Yes.
If I tell you there's 10 people that went there, they all got mauled, right?
Yes, sir.
So now, am I taking away? If me, you say Gunner, you say Ezra, go get me some stuff in that aisle, and I said no, I'm not going there. Am I taking guilt away from those dogs? Am I telling you? I'm telling you, you yourself. Those dogs are hungry. They will kill you. So you yourself go over there. Am I telling you? Oh, those dogs are not evil or are not mean?
No. But what you are doing? Here's what you're doing. You saying that don't go down there because them dogs are mean. But what you ain't saying, and what my conservative brothers don't never discuss is, first of all, why are the dogs down there? First of all, who put the dogs down there, and why are they hungry and so mean that they willing to eat me? Because they ain't getting sufficient food. Nobody is caring for them. Nobody is making sure that they eat every day. So I'm saying that y'all don't point to the creator of the dogs who put them down there.
Okay.
That's my problem. That's my problem with the brothers.
Okay, I didn't. So you didn't understand my point. You didn't get my point because
I did.
No, you didn't. You didn't because I probably made a bad analogy. So you know how what you just said and what the Black Steel just said about we want to attack the crabs, but we're not attacking the barrel maker, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
If the barrel maker has been making barrels for 3,000 years, why should I go? Please, you don't think I already know the barrel maker cannot be changed?
Not everybody know that there's a barrel maker, Urzuli. Not everybody know that barrel maker exists.
So let me give you a good. So you think I'm mad at the dogs? No, I know.
You mad at me for walking down there. You mad at my ignorance for walking down there.
See, the dog is part of the dog, the hungry dog, and the people walking down there are the result of the person who created that. What I'm saying is, we are the dogs, we are the people walking down the corridor. None of us realize that the person who created the corridor is not going to change. Me, I'm not, because I'm telling the dogs to stop biting the people, and I'm telling the people stop walking in the corridor. That's not me absolving the man, whoever created it. I already know who they are. They've been doing it for 10,000 of years. To me, they're never gonna change. I gotta change. I gotta change.
I agree with you.
No, you
but
don't.
I'm saying no. Hold on. Hear me out. I agree with you, but what I am telling you, Urzuli, is you come to that realization. But there are hundreds and thousands of Black people they have never even considered that there's a barrel maker. They think that the way things are is just how they are. They never even thought about to the level of where you thinking that there's a barrel maker. Just as we saw the lady in Africa doing her devilishment, she don't understand the creators of these doctrines or a bunch of women hating homosexuals from out of Greece who create these kinds of ideas and put it in African minds. They never even get that far in their reasoning and thinking. They just think that this is the proper way to operate because they've been conditioned that way. And I'm saying that you can't ignore the barrel maker. Most of Black people have not gotten to that level as yet of thinking, but you have. So that's why you ignore them completely. But I'm saying that there are many others just like me and you who even consider these the barrel maker yet. That's what I'm telling you.
But Boana, that lady, you are that lady knows the barrel maker. You know what she's just saying? If you can't beat them, join them. I don't let these people up. That lady is not off the hook. She's looking at it. Oh, I know the barrel maker, but I'm making money. So you think these people, that lady don't know?
No, but no, Brother Willie, she knows, but most of the people who come to her church don't. You know what I mean? They have not considered that yet. She's being manipulative in what she do. She know what you know, but she using it to her advantage to make money, as you say. But the people who she drawing in, they don't know. Just like Jim Jones. Jim Jones knew certain things, but most of the people, the 900 people he get to commit suicide, they didn't know. So they follow him in death.
Buana, could you accept the fact that maybe this woman is a true believer and she really does believe if your child stays up late, he's possessed by Satan? Could that be a possibility?
She could be, and still be a person who is drawn and given to money, or she could be a shyster and a huckster who knows better. She knows better, but she's still using religion as a tool to enrich herself. So she could be one of the, just like TD, you have your TD Jakes out there, who I believe is a true believer. Then you have your Benny Hins, who is a shuckster, and he don't even believe in the religion, but he uses it as a tool to enrich himself.
Both of them. Jake is a true believer. He was at the Diddy party. Come on, boy. Not see. Boy,
you was at the Diddy party. You was at the Diddy party. So I don't know who was there. So obviously you was there on the nag.
They got a picture of him and Diddy holding hands. What you mean?
No, he's a pastor, bro. I don't think he is. I don't think he is. That's a whole other conversation. That's a whole other conversation.
Wow. All right, guys. Great conversation tonight. We'll do it again next week. I know it's Thanksgiving for some people, but I plan to be here. Hopefully you guys plan to be here too, if you can. Before anyone leaves the panel, please, it's time to give you shout-outs for the week. Let me start with Anthony McPhail. What will your shout-outs be this week, sir?
Man, okay, my shout-out's going to be, man, to everybody on the panel, man, to you, Koku, to everybody on the panel, all the brothers on the panel, to our sister Lero, and to the Revolutionary Matron. I want to give a shout out to the brothers in Niger, man. You know, the government there, they was doing something. You know, it's a small thing, and you know, it may be symbolic, but it was important to them. You know, where they was this week, they was like all of those names, place names. You know, like in Africa, all these places where the Europeans went and colonized and put their names on shit. Well, you know, in Niger, they started to take all that shit down, man. You know what I'm saying? All of the monuments all over the country and places like that. They taking all those French names down, those French heroes and all that shit, the streets, the boulevards, avenues, and all that down, and replacing them with the names of African heroes and African freedom fighters and people from Niger and Niger's history and everything. So I want to give a shout out to them for that. And like Coco, I was just thinking you said about the Thanksgiving thing coming up. You know, we celebrate the alternative thing, man, the Umoja Karamu, you know, which is the alternative, you know, the Africa-centered alternative to that Thanksgiving bullshit. And so I'll leave it at right there, man. But peace to all the brothers, man.
Appreciate that. Yeah, we'll be here next Saturday. Please join us if you can. With that said, let me hear from Black Seal. Black Seal, what would you like to shout this week?
Well, shout out to that clown, John Jones, at the UFC fight. He won the fight last weekend. And this fool got up here and started dancing and said he was a proud Christian American and he was happy to see President Trump in attendance. And he even danced. He's a dancing, I don't want to say a monkey because that has racist connotations. He's a dancing monkey. Got up here and danced for Donald Trump, man. Oh my God. All those UFC fighters, man, they all end up to be the most self-hating coons, from Kamaru Usman and Israel Adesanya, now John Jones. It's like, where do you find these Negroes? He called a racist like Dana White to call him his uncle. I saw the fight, but I always get it for free. I'm not giving him my money. You know, I'll stream it. Thank God for the internet. But yeah, it was just an embarrassment. Like, oh, every time we take a step forward, we take 3 steps back with clowns like this. Good show tonight. Oh no!
Hey, sure.
Don't do it! Don't do it!
Would you have that same feeling if you was dancing for Kamala? I don't understand.
Yes, I would. Yes, I
Most
would.
of-
Don't
most
listen.
of
You won't
it
listen,
would.
Ursula. You gonna catch me in that? No,
That
not
would be not
today.
good.
Not today. Like Dikembe Mutombo said, not today. Oh, shout out to him. He passed away recently. Shout out to Dikembe Mutombo.
A lot of people would have been like, "Hey, come on, yo." Now y'all want to call.
I'm not one of those people though. So don't you ask me a question. I'm not one of those people.
Yeah.
Fuck her.
Well, most maybe not you, but I know a bunch of people in this would have been like, "Oh yeah, now you have a problem with my man. Yo, he won his fight, yo. He won a fight. He can't do a little dance. Shit."
Yeah, but didn't he? But really, didn't he give President Trump his belt, bro? I mean, you do the fight, you can give the president your belt.
What if he has given the belt to Kamala? Yo,
No,
you would have never said
Can
that.
we not mention? Can we mention Trump without mentioning Kamala?
I ain't even going into the politics.
Jeez,
I'm not even going to the politics. Let me just
Yeah,
give
ain't you in the
myself-
Bahamas? Mind your business.
Hey, the last Haitian guy who was in the fight, he got knocked out by what's the name?
Yo, what the
Hold that.
Yeah, he got knocked out by Dante Wilder. So you ain't even in this conversation. You ain't even in this time. He comes to the ring with his Haitian flag.
Wow, you see?
Anyways, yo, shout out to the 524 diasporans who got their citizenship. Respect to them. I think it's a good thing. I think it's a good step. Shout out to Burkina Faso as always, and shout out. Erzuli might be offended by this, and I ain't trying to offend him, right? But shout out to the brothers in Haiti who shooting at planes to making sure they're alive because we don't miss this. We don't miss this. So shout out to them as well. I'll leave it at that.
Oh
So it was a shout out while you're here.
Yo, that was shout out to the Haitian team for beating Puerto Rico 3-0. Yeah, hold that. Soccer, baby. We back. That's what I'm saying. I'm out. Shout out to the panel.
Yes, sir. Thanks for coming through. I guess Black still give a shout out. I think everyone did.
Yeah,
right?
I'm done.
All right. So Trey Happy says, yeah, shout out to repatriation. Yeah, my shout outs to Cheryl. My shout outs to Cheryl and all the ladies who was here tonight, but Cheryl's husband was one of the crew who got citizenship to Ghana. I appreciate that. So I look forward to hearing her stories in the near future of gaining hers and repatriation, etc. Shout out to Jose and Marcus McGee and everyone else who joined late. But we'll be here next week. Yeah.
Yo, stop repatriating. This side is ours too. Yo, stop it. Why we repatriate?
Cool.
You repatriate me because we got white supremacist vibe. These crackers is crazy.
Hey, Cool.
Yeah.
And shout out to our brother, man, Tamir Rice, man.
Oh yes, today is the anniversary of his death at 12 years old. It was I want to say it was like 10 years ago now, right? It's time flies. So shout out to Tamir Rice as well. All right.
Hold on. Did the police get convicted or they didn't?
I think they lost it. I think he lost his job.
Oh,
but I don't think he got convicted.
Oh, all right. Yeah. Cool.
All right. I'll see you guys next week, same time, same place, 8 to 11 p.m. or so. You guys be good during the week. Check out all the shows on KWAZ Radio. And see y'all later. Peace.
Thanks for listening to the Bitter Medicine Podcast with your host, Koku. If you like what you just heard, we hope you pass along our web address, bittermedicineblogs.com, to your friends and colleagues, and share our show to all your social media. Be sure to check out our archive section on our website for previous podcasts. This has been a KWAZ radio production. Join us next time for another session of the Bitter Medicine Podcast. Follow us on Facebook at Bitter Medicine Show, Twitter, Bitter Meds, Tumblr, Bitter Meds, Instagram, Bitter